Not as easy as what everybody thinks. Oh, we'll just write a children's story. Finding the right language and being able to articulate the message in a way that makes sense but is also impactful is, I wouldn't say challenging, but it was actually really wonderful for me to go on that journey. I've then since had 2 sons and finished the final 2 books in the series. The second book being Jessica Goes Swimming. So that story that I just mentioned, that first swimming race. Again, teaching children about winning and losing and self-confidence and being a good sports person, supporting friends is what that story is about. And then the final one is Jessica Joins a Band. So this is really obviously talking about, you know, the capabilities that we have. But when I was in school, I had a teacher who told me that I could play the drums. I was like, how can I play the drums? I've only got one hand. And he said, you know, the drummer in, I think it's Def Leppard or is only has one hand. And I was like, well, this is amazing. So if someone else can do it, then I surely can at least try. And that's what that book represents, is if you can see yourself being represented, it gives you a much clearer pathway to what it is that you want to achieve. And so throughout that whole journey and having young children, it's been amazing to see how they've responded to the books and the stories, because I wanted it to be a resource, not for children that have a disability, not for children that have certain, you know, needs that, you know, are a little bit more, you know, around development and special needs and things like that. I wanted it to be a resource on every bookshelf, in every library, because again, when we see characters that represent what we see in everyday life, it normalizes that.
Absolutely.
And so, I'm being so excited with how, you know, the community here in the UAE and around the world have been so, you know, supportive of the books and the stories. And for me, when I go into schools and when I talk to young children, I'm so much more empowered, because I think the questions they have come from a place of complete innocence. And they have no filter. And I love that. They're asking because they're curious, you know, what happened to your hand? And when I explain that I was born like it, a lot of them are just so uninterested. They're like, oh, is that all? And then what I find so fascinating with children is they then find things about themselves or people in their life that link to me. There's always some way of bringing it back. What are the similarities? And I just think it's so beautiful, because often the fear that children develop is from the way that their parents or adults or teachers instill that. And I'm not saying that it's from a bad place. I think often we just don't know what to say. We don't know how to politically correctly say something without upsetting somebody. And that is all part of the learning journey of how to be respectful. But I do encourage people to come and talk to me. Not everyone with a disability wants you to come and ask some questions, and that needs to be respected as well. But certainly for me, I understand that if I want to see change, by being part of that change is very important. So I have to be willing to be able to be part of the conversation and share parts of my journey, which I hope, and I do know based on, you know, how things have, you know, evolved over the last few years, do help the perspective and shaping the mindset of younger children around their perspective on the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, Jessica, storytelling is such a powerful way to do it, because it's precisely like you said, it's entertaining and fun without being preachy necessarily, and sort of then lands with kids. And it is very much about people beyond, you know, being different in that one particular way to also read it, because that's the whole, and often, you know, you'll come across people with really good intentions, but just kind of still tiptoeing around it, because it is hard, you know, to kind of sense what is the right language, you know, how much is too much. And of course, this kind of depends on the situation. But and then the last thing on this that I want to say is that I hear you on writing children's books not being that straightforward, because I think there is a sense of, oh, this is just a children's book. It would be,
not at all. No, even my husband, he was like, oh, that's a great idea. You'll write that in a weekend. And like a year later, I'm like, no, it's not that simple. But yes, exactly. You know, I want this to be a conversation starter. Use these books as a resource to be able to have some difficult conversations. And that's why, you know, I go into the schools, and I'm happy to go to every single school